Hello, my beautiful friends. So, I am getting ready to do some journaling, and I thought I'd bring you along for the rune pull and cards. So, let's see what Spirit has to say for us today. For my magical sisters, I finally was able to get all the magical mail out together. The crosses came, so I could send them. I didn't want half the group to get them, and then the other half to wonder, like, well, am I not getting one? I wanted everybody to get theirs together because we're a sisterhood. But I had to wait because apparently my favorite person who makes stuff is backlogged. Alright, I have all my stones out. Ask Spirit. I haven't done a full Celtic cross for a while, so I'm going to do a full Celtic cross. And let's see what the stones are. So what is my present energy, my present situation, something I should be focusing on right now? You're coming out. Huh. Kenaz. Just humanity. Alright, and what got me into this position? Uraz. And what can't I control? Isa. Ice. What can I control? You want to come out. Berkana. And what is a potential outcome? Oh, you were right on top. You were waiting for me. Kenaz. Alright. I'm going to go think about these, and I will be right back. So, I always say this. The stones are fascinating. So, the Humanity Stone it's about reaching out to humanity, but it's also about letting humanity in. And if you follow the playbook and watch the channel, you know that my son's been going through surgery, and so many people have reached out. So many kindnesses. So many. This is. Make sure I find it. This is the stone that Denise gave me. What is your other name? Denise gave me this. Anyway, rose quartz is my favorite stone. And then the garnet is also Julian's birthstone, which she had no idea of knowing that. But so it just feels so, it's such a generous gift, but also just, right now is really great. And then as I was thinking about the stones, this caught my eye. And I had this in my pocket the day that Julian had surgery. Somebody had made this in our community and had given it to my husband because he's a veteran, and he had won Veteran of the Month. And this was in that box, and I thought, well, that's little enough that I could put it in my pocket and have it with me. And it's just super, super cute. So, like, we have just been surrounded by, like, so many awesome people with cards, and my sister-in-law put a poster up and had candy for Julian when he got home. He can't eat it yet, he's not there yet, but he will. And like his school made him cards and a huge poster and another little poster, and people have sent emails and called, and we really have. I'm a person who likes to pour into other cups. I like to pour out love and light, but because of how I was raised, I'm very hesitant to accept that love and light back. Not because I don't want it, just because I don't ever want to be greedy for it, if that makes sense. I don't know how to explain it. Like, there's no such thing as a free lunch is what comes to my mind, because that's what my mom, like if you gave somebody something, she would give freely, and she would not expect others, like people outside of our house, to return it. But in our family, sometimes there was like, well, I'll help you do this if you do that, and like it just always felt like transactional. And I don't think like love should be that way. So I'm very good at giving out love and light, very hesitant to accept it in, and through this process with my son, I've and Spirit, and my sisterhood community, and my friends, my more magical friends here local to me. I'm getting better at receiving. And so, where does that come from? Well, that comes from the Raging Bull, right? The Raging Bull, I'm just going to read the words because I want to read the words for all of them. But so for Mannaz, it's, where are you on here? Humanity symbolizes individuality, friendship, society, cooperation, help. And certainly family and friends have really just been such a blessing to me. Uraz symbolizes strength, tenacity, courage, untamed potential, and freedom. And I know that I'm strong. I know that I'm a strong person. Like I've said before, like one of the reasons I do disaster response is because I'm level-headed in a crisis, and buildings can be burning on both sides, and we're gonna be safe, but I'm gonna get to where I need to get to do whatever has to be done. It's afterwards. It's like the after period where I have to come down, where I'm good in crisis mode, but then I have a hard time transitioning back. And we talk about that on the trail a lot too. You've been on this trail for 6 months, and then you're done with it, and then then what? Then what, right? And there's depression that comes, afterwards. I wouldn't say that I get depression, but I definitely have to figure out how to get back into a normal routine. So what I can't... I'm going to sneeze. Am I going to sneeze? I think I'm not going to sneeze. Is Isa. This is what you can't control. Symbolizes clarity, stasis, challenges, introspection, watching, and waiting. And I think that's a reminder from Spirit that our life is full of cycles. And our life is full of icy patches. And even if you live in a really glorious place that doesn't have like ice storms and snow, you have some kind of weather, right? And so, weather happens, and you really can't control that, right? You can't control, no life is perfect. Nothing ever goes completely smoothly, so like ice happens in your life, and you have to be careful, and you have to navigate, but ice isn't forever, right? Ice melts eventually, and something new is birthed out of it. The surgery, was 7.5 hours. They realigned his entire spine. He's, 6-foot boy, big boy. And, it was rough, but it was necessary. And that will allow him to have, better health going along. But also as a journey, as a family of sticking together and, being there for each other and, helping each other. And, the time that it takes to if you would have had this surgery 2 years ago, I wouldn't have had this magical community, and I would have had my religious community, but 2 years ago I was away from the church already. I've been away from the church for quite a few years now, so I didn't really have a community at all, and I didn't have anybody that I would confide in. Before I moved here, I want to say more than 2 years ago. Before I moved to Palmerton, when I was in New Jersey, I had one person there that I really confided in, that I would walk through fire for. But my friends here had, they're all busy and they have lives. My best friend moved to Arizona, and now I feel like I'm much more part of a community. I'm rambling. I'm sorry. So that's just to say that this experience is so much better today than it would have been, in 2019. And Kenaz is torch. Use what you've birthing, use what you're creating to shed light for others, and remember that you're part of the light and shedding the light, but you're a benefactor of the light too. That's probably the biggest lesson that I'm learning is yes, you pour out from your cup all the time. Yes, you volunteer for everything, you do all this stuff. You can accept help too, and you can accept graciousness also, and you can be a benefactor of the light while also pouring from your cup. So that is the message I think that Spirit is sending me. But now that I have found my cards, let us ask them, shall we? I'm going to do, I think, 2. I think I'll do these 2 today. I had a cough. I don't have a cold anymore. I have that stupid, like, residual cough. It's not as bad as it was. I probably cough, like, I have a good 2 times a day cough. I'll take that over what it was before. So we will ask Spirit for any cards to add to this message and see what Spirit says. It's really amazing to have a support network. I've never been... It's funny, I'm a joiner of things, like, where I always like sports where it was like diving. Like, you're responsible for your dive. I mean, you can bring your team score down and all that, but, like, you know, if you mess up on a dive, you messed up your own dive, right? Bagpiping, you play it in a band, but, you know, you play really alone. And I like things that are solitary, because I'm not always great in groups. I'm not bad in groups. I don't know how to explain it. I think it's more like I'm an observer, so I have to kind of, like, get a sense of the field first. I don't want to ever be responsible for messing somebody else's thing up. That's why I like Druidry, because you're on your own path and you help other people on their path, but you don't have to be responsible for their path and you don't have to be affected by their path. So nothing I do will mess you up, because I'm only going to mess it up for myself, right? So, but I think Spirit's really saying, like, look, there are people like you out there. I mean, it was so awesome talking to Denise about, like our journeys with faith and leaving organized religion and kind of where that puts you, and, you know, the things that resonate. And, you know, it's awesome learning the different traditions and practices of the sisterhood. It's great. And none of us judge each other. Like, none of us are, you know, like, I watch the rituals they do and I'm like, huh, that's a really clever one. I'm going to do that. You know, and I might not call it magic. I might just call it ritual. But I think we all have more alike than we don't have alike in the world, right? And I think people do things all the time. You know, like if you knock wood, or you do things, people do things. And it's not bound by religion or it's more, you know, just how you interpret the world, right? The lens you're using for the world. Anyway, let's ask Spirit if there's any cards to clarify. Pass 1. Pass 2, and then pass 3. Okay, we have awareness. I love this card. Like I said, I'm not always drawn to artwork, but my camera sucks big time, but she's a figure and she's walking to something. She's either walking to something or she's walking away from something back here, but it's being aware of all the things around her. Like, it's raining. There's symbology around her. There's rocks underneath her. There's rocks on the side of her. She's walking toward water. Like, just be aware of all of the different places for potential is what I'm getting, really, from Spirit. Like, you know, be aware of places where you can have a positive influence and where you can make a difference, right? We all can make a difference. We can all, even in our little way. It doesn't take money. It doesn't take fame. It doesn't take, you know, it doesn't take anything but your desire. Like Hestia says, you are all the magic you need. You don't need fancy tools. You don't need fancy cards. You don't need stones. You know, these are things that, you know, help us. But, and I felt the same way when I was in the church. You know, you don't need, some churches are very, very, very hepped up on the kinds of chalices they have and crucifixes. Is that the crucifix eye? Candles, you know, like the fancy stuff in the church. And my theory always was, even as a little kid, it doesn't matter. It could be a paper cup. It could be your canteen, right? Like, if that body and blood is blessed, it doesn't matter what's in it, what it's in. Like, Jesus didn't care what it was in. He cared that you remembered, right? That you took the time to remember. That's the important part. We get caught up in all the stuff. Don't get caught up in the stuff, right? It doesn't have to be the fanciest thing. You are all you need. You and your whatever faith you have, whatever religious practices you have, whatever spiritual practices you have, or if you're an atheist or agnostic, whatever it is that you use to bring meaning into this world, that's all you need. You need your beliefs. Sometimes we go through a faith crisis. Somebody called it that the other day, their faith crisis. Was it Denise who called it that? I don't remember who called it that. But it's true. Like, you know, sometimes, you know, you go through a faith crisis. And I wouldn't call what I went through a faith crisis. I think it's a lot easier. Oh, I was watching a video about a person who left the Mormon church. Because, wow. That's a whole hot set of noodles that I never understood or knew about. But a lot of YouTube videos are about people who leave the church, because I'm interested in the Ruby Frankie thing, right? And for them, it really is a crisis. Like when they leave Mormonism, because it's so tied to the culture in Utah, and it's so tied to their families. Like, I mean, I'm fortunate that my mother passed away before I, went off the deep end, um, which you would have called the deep end. So I didn't have to deal with my family, and my family that's existing. My brother and his family, they support what I do. My brother actually was a Druid before I was. He didn't buy into all the mainstream stuff, the Obad stuff either. But he was actually the person who told me about it. I had never heard of it. I mean, other than in like literature. All right, let's see if Spirit has anything else to say about these runes, and about being light and love and accepting light and love, being aware. Okay, nothing from there. I think Spirit's okay with the message as I have it. You can be the light, you can be the love, and you can accept light and love. So I want to thank all of you who have been sending me kind messages and just being mindful of our family's needs. I so appreciate it. I am wishing you all the very best in light and love. Take care. Bye-bye.